we'll go ahead and get started here. Again, my name is Dave, and I am one of the owners and operators of Homeschool Tracker. And just want to start out by just saying thank you so much for joining us tonight. I know there are so many other things you could be doing on a Tuesday evening in the middle of the summer, so we really appreciate you spending some time here tonight to learn a little bit more about Homeschool Tracker. While we're getting started too, if you want to jump in there again in the chat or on the Q&A and just let us know how long you've been using Homeschool Tracker. Typically these webinars are mostly newer users, but if you could just let me know how long you've been using the program, that would be helpful too, and it can help frame a little bit about what we're going to talk about tonight. You can go ahead and send that in whenever you get a chance. Angela's new, Kim is also new. Okay, great. Kathy's been using it less than a month. Just started using it. Tina says since January, February, but getting ready for the new year. Okay, great. So it sounds like a lot of new users, and there's a lot to learn. And I think one of the cool things about Homeschool Tracker is that there are so many different ways to use Homeschool Tracker, and that's why things like this training and the support that we provide is so important, because we want to not only create the tools to allow you to be more successful in your homeschool, but to also give you the support, the training, the education to use those tools successfully in your homeschool. And so that's really what our mission is here at Homeschool Tracker. So again, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I am recording this webinar, and so once the recording is available, we will send a link to you in an email so you can watch the replay at any time. So let's go ahead and jump in, and let's spend a little bit of time talking about the agenda for tonight. So we're going to start off discussing a little bit about where to find help. As you may or may not have noticed, Homeschool Tracker is certainly a very feature-rich program. So there's a lot of different features and tools, and so we'll talk a little bit about where you can get assistance. We'll do a little bit of an interface tour, just kind of walking through the different screens of Homeschool Tracker. Then we'll talk about the difference between subjects and courses and why they're important in terms of how you structure your school on Homeschool Tracker. Then we'll discuss assignments, which are really the heart of all of your record keeping in the program. We'll move on to lesson plans, which are a really popular feature of Homeschool Tracker, and that can save you a lot of time. Then we'll just discuss some reports. And then we'll talk about workflows. And what I mean by workflows are really just kind of the day-to-day how you use the program in a number of different scenarios that may work well for you. And we'll actually kind of cover a bunch of those as we go, but then we'll recap them there at the end. And then we'll have plenty of time for a Q&A. So any questions that you have, feel free to submit those at the end, and I'll be more than happy to answer all of them. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump in. Starting with where to find help. So I think probably the best place to find help with Homeschool Tracker is right here on these webinars. So we try to do these every other week, and they are a great way for you to jump on and ask any and all of your questions, and we can kind of demo those and work on those questions together. So that's a great place. We also have a place where you can find all the recordings of these sessions. So if you go to our main website, homeschooltracker.com, and then go to the support tab, down to the training center, you'll find all of the scheduled training sessions that are happening, which you can register for, but you'll also find all the replays of previous sessions. And so that's a great resource. The other place I would mention are our Getting Started tutorial videos, and you can find those if you go to help.homeschooltracker.com. This is our main help center. And right here at the top, these 11 links here is our Getting Started video guide. And so each one of these videos is just a couple minutes long, and it kind of jumps right into that specific area. So all in, you could watch all of these in probably about 30 minutes or so. And that's a great way to kind of get up to speed on a specific section of the program. And then I'll also mention just this help site in general. So if you've noticed at all or been on this site, it is an extensive reference guide to all of the features within Homeschool Tracker. And it is really just that. It's more of a reference guide. So what I would actually recommend for folks is if you are in the program, so I'm going to jump over to Homeschool Tracker here, and let me just go into like the calendar view real quick. Any screen that you're in Homeschool Tracker, if you click the help link up here in the top right, it'll take you directly to the help page for that screen. So here's the agenda calendar view help page, and it kind of walks through anything and everything you would ever want to know about the agenda calendar view, along with links that take you to those relevant areas as well. So definitely, if you're ever getting stuck or if you just want to know more information about that particular screen, definitely click on that help link in the top right of Homeschool Tracker. And then I would also recommend, if you are looking for something specific, you can always search right here within the help site. So for example, let me just search for days off, and I can find the page specifically on how to set up days off within Homeschool Tracker. So really an extensive index, really, of all of the help material that we have for the program. And then last but not least, I would recommend emailing us. So you can email us any questions you might have, support@homeschooltracker.com. We typically respond to each and every email within 1 to 2 business days. And if you've ever emailed us, it's likely that we responded faster than that. So my wife, Amy, she responds to the emails, as well as Sherry. So those two are always monitoring that email box, and we'll get back to you within 1 to 2 days. And that, you can ask obviously specific questions about features, but it's also, we're more than welcome to help you with kind of those workflow type questions of, this is my situation and this is how I like to run my homeschool. What would be a good way for me to set up Homeschool Tracker to make me more successful? And we're happy to walk you through that as well. So definitely don't hesitate to email us at support@homeschooltracker.com. Okay, so now let's just do a quick interface tour. So I'm going to jump back to, let me just close some of these windows here. I'm going to jump back to Homeschool Tracker, and let's just go back to our home page here. And if you open up Homeschool Tracker, you'll notice that the main menu is broken up into 5 different areas. So up here on the top left, you have schedules and planning. This is where you'll find the agenda, both in the calendar view and the list view. And the agenda is really just that. It's the list of all the things that you or your student need to do in a given day or a given time period. This is where you'll also find your lesson plans, as well as the shared lesson plan library, which we'll talk about a little bit later. Below that is the students section of the menu. This is where your main student list is, the grade levels for those students, the grading overview, which shows you each and every grade that student has earned over a period of time. This is also where the lesson plans and presets page is, which is kind of an advanced scheduler, which we'll talk about a little bit later, as well as the transcript supplemental page, where you can add additional awards and achievements that would be added onto your student's transcript. In the center section here, these are all the different reports that you can generate. So things like an attendance report, the daily task list, which we'll talk about a little bit later, report cards, transcripts, they all exist here. And reports can be generated as a PDF file, which you can then save, print, or email. And then in the top right here, this is what we call the Manage Lists section of the menu. And really, this is more of a maintenance area of the program. We call it Manage Lists because each one of these items here, activities, chore names, courses, etc., these are all essentially lists of items. So for example, the courses page here is a list of all your courses. And you can go in there, you can create new courses, you can edit existing courses, that sort of thing. The library is a list of all of your resources in the library. And you can, again, create, edit, or delete library items. So that's why I call it more of a maintenance area, because you're not necessarily in this section of the menu on a day-to-day basis. It's more of that place where you're going to go and change, these lists that are going to affect other parts of the program. So definitely good to be aware of where that is, but it's not necessarily something that you're going to be in every single day. And then the bottom right section, this is the Your Account section. This is where you'll find the program options, where you can edit your school profile, and also where you'll find the subscription and users page, where you can modify your subscription settings, you can add student accounts, that sort of thing. Okay, so that's just a quick overview of the menu and all of the different areas of it. All right, now we're going to dig into the difference between subjects and courses in Homeschool Tracker. So this is where we start to get into more of the practical stuff of how we're going to set Homeschool Tracker up so that we can be successful in our homeschool. So subjects are really those broad areas of study, things like math, language arts, history, or science. Those core subjects that we all know and love. And then courses, those are very specific areas of study within a subject. So a course you can think of like a class also. So a course might be called Algebra 2, which would belong to the subject of math, or Composition 1, which would belong to the subject of language arts, or Physical Science 1, which might belong to the subject of science. So really the way that it's structured is you have subjects as kind of the very high level sort of category, and then below that you have these different courses that belong to each one of those subjects. So that's kind of how it's all structured within Homeschool Tracker. And we do this for a number of reasons. Really, if you think about it, the reason we do it is ultimately for the reports that it's going to generate. So if you think about a transcript or a report card down the line, you might have a transcript that's formatted as math as the subject, and then within that subject it's going to have a list of all of the courses that your student took over that given time period. And so that's really why setting it up this way from the beginning is important, and it all comes down to that transcript or that report card down the line, because you want it to be organized in a very specific way. So let's go ahead and do a demo of what this looks like, because I think it'll make a little bit more sense when you see it. So first off, I'm going to go straight to the subjects list over here in the Managed Lists section of the menu. So if I go into here, instantly you can see the different subjects that I have. So I have 4 subjects currently. And as you can tell, there's not really a whole lot of other information here, because really subjects are just a broad container, really, of courses. So if I open this one up, you'll see that the name is history. You know, we set it to a core. It has some subjects in it. Right now it just has 1, Ancient History 1, and then it's currently set to active. But otherwise, not really a whole lot that you need to do here. If I wanted to add a new subject, I could just go to Action, Add, give it a name, and hit Save. But again, you know, subjects are really broad, just containers of other courses, essentially. So let's take a look at the courses list. So I'll click on Courses here. And this is the list of courses that I have in my account. And instantly you can see that there's a lot more information here, a lot more things that we can tweak or different settings that we can have. So you'll notice Ancient History 1 is the name of this course. It belongs to the subject history. We can see if it's worth any credit units, how those are calculated, etc. So if I open this up, here are all the different options that you might have for a course. So as you can see, when you get to the course level, things can get much more specific, and you can kind of have different settings for each course. So while we're in here, let's go ahead and create a new course. I'm just going to go ahead and click on Action and then Add. And I'm going to create a new course called Reading 1. And the subject for Reading 1 is going to be Language Arts. I'm going to stop right there, because as you noticed, as I was typing language arts popped up down here, because this is what we call a smart entry field. And you'll actually notice these in a few other areas of the program. But basically what it does is, as you're typing, it's searching the subjects list, the one that we were just in actually, for anything that matches what I'm typing. So it's kind of a quick way to search and find what you're looking for. If I don't know what I'm looking for, I can always just enter in a blank space, and the whole list of items will show up, and then I can select the correct one. Okay, those are the only required things I need to create a course. These other options here, we won't go into too much detail on those tonight, but certainly if you have any questions about those, I would recommend reading the help page, or you can definitely shoot us an email. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and click Save and then refresh this. And now you'll see I have a new course called Reading 1 that belongs to the subject of Language Arts. Okay, so that was a quick demo on subjects and courses. Now, things to watch out for when working with subjects and courses. I would not recommend using the exact same name for both a subject and a course. So if you have a subject called Language Arts, I would not create a course also called Language Arts, because that would be confusing, and you might not know exactly if you're looking at the course or the subject. You'll also, you're kind of breaking that paradigm of having the subject be a really broad name and then have the course be a very specific name. So you want to make sure you kind of keep track of that. A slash, if you see a slash, that shows the break between a subject and a course. So if you don't see that slash, that means you're just looking at a subject. And so let me show you what that looks like. If I jump over to our agenda, I'm just going to create a new assignment really quickly here. And when I go to add a subject or course to this, you'll notice that I have history, and then I have history / Ancient History 1. So if I just see history by itself here, that means if I select that, it's just going to assign this assignment to the subject of history, not even a specific course. If I see history / Ancient History 1, that means this is going to be assigned to Ancient History 1, the course that is part of the subject history. So this is just a kind of naming paradigm that we use where you see the subject, then you see a slash, and then you see the name of the course. So that's why you see this here as well, where it says subject/course. And if you don't see that slash, then that means you're just looking at the name of a subject. Okay. The last thing I'll mention is most homeschool tracker accounts probably have anywhere between 4 and 10 subjects. And then you might have literally hundreds of courses. So if you have more than 10 subjects, you might want to rethink how you're organizing things. But certainly you can have as many courses as you like. And you can imagine if you've been using Homeschool Tracker for a while with your student, and say they're doing 5 courses a semester or more over the course of many years, that number of courses will certainly add up. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about assignments. And assignments are really the heart of all your record keeping in Homeschool Tracker. We like to think of assignments as the schoolwork tasks that we give our students to complete. So anything that you would literally assign to your student and expect them to complete, and that you would want to possibly track that completion over time, that would be considered an assignment. So an assignment can be a lesson that you might do in the classroom. It could be homework. It could be a test or a quiz. It could be a field trip. It could be anything that you want to essentially have your student do and complete, and that you want to track that completion over time. Okay, so this is kind of why we say assignments are really kind of the heart of all your record keeping, because they're really right in the middle of everything. And assignments can come from a couple different places. So they can be created individually or in a series, or they can come from a lesson plan, and then once that lesson plan is run through a scheduler, it will create assignments. And then from those assignments, if you're tracking that assignment and marking it complete, you can do a number of different things. So all of those report cards and transcripts can be generated because of the assignments. If you have auto attendance enabled, it can keep track of your attendance. You can generate the daily task list, which shows you all the things that you or your student need to do. And all of those other additional reports can all be generated because of the use of assignments. So this is what a basic assignment entry form looks like. You have the ability to choose a student, so that's a required field. So is a subject or course. Activity, this can be anything that helps define what your assignment is a part of. So that could be a lesson, it could be homework, it could be a quiz, it could be a test. That's what goes in the activity field. A resource, this would be a book or another kind of resource in your library that you want to associate with this assignment. PLC stands for page, lesson, chapter. So you can put things like lesson 3 or page 45 through 55 or something like that. You have a directions field where you can enter full rich text directions. The date is the other required field. And a start and end time, which is optional. If you don't want to put a start and end time in there, it will just show up on your agenda as an all-day assignment, meaning it can be done at any time. Points possible and earned, this is where the grading would occur if you are grading this assignment. Time spent can be entered here, and this can help you keep track of the number of hours spent on a given course. You can choose whether or not this assignment should be able to be rescheduled. And then you also have the option to mark this assignment complete as a student or as a teacher. And when an assignment is marked complete by a teacher, a number of things can happen. So attendance can be recorded if you have auto attendance enabled. The grades can be generated. Time spent can be automatically calculated. And from all of that information, all of that data inside those assignments, once it's marked complete, it can really trigger all these other reports to be generated. So let's go ahead and do a little demo on assignments. What we'll do is we'll create multiple assignments. We'll add grades to them, and then we'll mark those complete. And we'll do that both from the calendar view as well as the list view. So I'm going to jump back over here real quick. And we're going to start in the calendar view. And what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and click on Add Assignment Single. I'll go ahead and choose my daughter Campbell. And then we'll pick a course for this, which will be Ancient History 1. And then for activity, I'll call this a lesson. And again, this is a smart entry field, so it's searching my activities list. For resource, I'm just going to pick one of these books here. And then for PLC, I'll call this lesson 1. For the date, I'm going to have this be for today. And we'll do a start time of 8 a.m. and an end time of 9 a.m. We'll say this is worth 10 points. Cool. So then I'll go ahead and click save. And there you go. There's my single ancient history 1 assignment for Campbell for today at 8 a.m. So now let's say it's the end of the day and we want to go ahead and grade this assignment and mark it complete. I can go ahead and just open this up. And if I click on it, you'll notice that I get kind of a quick preview of it. It shows me that it's lesson 1, that it's using this book, that sort of thing. If I click on more, I can go into the full editing mode here. So let's go ahead and grade it. I'm going to say she got a 9 out of 10. And I'm going to go ahead and mark this complete. Now, when I checked that box, you'll notice that it calculated this grade of 90%. It also calculated time spent as 1 hour based off of my start and end time, which is kind of nice. And now when I go ahead and click on save, you'll notice a couple of things. So first off, this kind of got a little darker, which just tells me that it was marked complete. And then also this Campbell present showed up here, and that's really, that's just an attendance record. So what it did is, because I have auto attendance enabled, when I mark an assignment complete, it's assuming that my student was there that day, and so it's going to create an attendance record for me. Okay, so that is how you would create a single assignment, grade it, and mark it complete. Now, thinking about workflows, this is something that that a lot of folks do on a daily basis. So for example, if you wanted to, the night before, you could create single assignments for all the work that your student needs to do the following day. Then at the end of the day, you could mark them complete, give them grades, and be fine with that. And that's a perfectly acceptable workflow. I think a lot of folks actually do that on a daily basis or however often they want to. And actually, I would actually kind of recommend that even if you're just starting out. Just enter in single assignments every day and kind of get a feel for how to enter them, how to grade them, how to mark them complete. The other thing that a lot of folks do, if you are perhaps an unschooler or you just don't necessarily know what your day is going to look like before you actually go about your day, this works really well in reverse. So let's say it's the end of the day and I want to go ahead and log all the work that my student did. I can go in at the end of the day and just create assignments for all the work that she did. Give them grades and mark them complete. And so then Homeschool Tracker really becomes a great logging tool and less of a planning tool, which is totally fine. But you still get all the great benefits of being able to then still, generate a report card or transcript or an attendance report, because you're still keeping track of all of that work that you did. So that's another great workflow that you can certainly use. Okay, so now let's look at creating multiple assignments at once. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Add and choose Assignment Multiple. And so what happens now is you're presented with the Add Multiple Assignments wizard. And so this wizard has 3 pages to it here. You can kind of click on each tab to navigate between them, but let's go ahead and start over here. So first off, you can select which students this should apply to. The cool thing about adding multiple assignments is you can create assignments for more than one student at a time. I'm just going to keep Campbell selected here. And then for subject course, I'm going to choose Ancient History 1. And for activity, I'll choose lesson. And resource, I'll just go ahead and pick one of these books again. And we'll set the start time also for 8 to 9 a.m. And we'll say these will all be worth 10 points. And then we'll go ahead and click on Continue to Day and Date to move to the next tab here. And we want them to have, or be scheduled every day. And we'll have the start date be tomorrow, the 6th. And then I have the option of creating items until PLC pattern is exhausted, or create items until an end date. I'm going to do this first option, continue creating items until PLC pattern is exhausted, because I want to show you what that looks like. So I'll go ahead and then continue to PLC. So if you remember, PLC stands for page, lesson, chapter. So I can choose to have the same PLC for each copy of the assignment I create. But if you think about it, most likely your PLC is going to increment over time, because if you're doing lesson 1 today, tomorrow you'll probably do lesson 2, and the day after you might do lesson 3, etc. So we have these auto increment features built in here. So I'm going to choose a 1-part auto increment, and I'm going to set the leading text to be lesson, and I'm going to start with lesson 2, and I'm going to end with lesson 4 and increment by 1. If I click the sample here, it's going to show me what that's going to look like. So it's going to create PLC that goes lesson 2, then lesson 3, then lesson 4. I can also do a 2-part auto increment or a 3-part. And really that becomes useful if, for example, you have something like this where it's like lesson 1.A, lesson 1.B, lesson 1.C, lesson 2.A, lesson 2.B, etc. And so you can get really kind of intricate with how you automatically increment these things. But I'm just going to choose the 1 part for now. And I'll go ahead and click continue to preview. And when I go to preview, it shows me a preview of what it's about to create. And so I'm about to create 3 assignments starting on Wednesday and ending on Friday. And it's going to go lesson 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to go ahead and select all of these and then choose accept selected items. When I click that, then that's actually going to go ahead and create those items and put them on my agenda. And so there we go. I just created 3 more assignments, lesson 2, lesson 3, and lesson 4, starting on Wednesday. And I told it to end when I got to lesson 4, which was Friday. So as you can see, I quickly created 3 additional assignments. Now I could have done this on Sunday night and done it for my entire week ahead. And again, talking about workflow, that's what a lot of folks do. They might create a sequence of assignments for the entire week or for perhaps 2 weeks at a time, and then go ahead and do the work and then grade and mark those assignments complete when you're finished. So it's a quick way to not only create more than 1 assignment, but then to also have them increment in their PLC over time. So now I'm going to jump over to the list view, but before that I do that, I just want to kind of go over a little bit of the other features on the calendar here. So as you can see, it's looks like a calendar, like you might expect. You have a number of tabs up here, these blue tabs, and what these are essentially filters. So by changing these up here, you can filter what you're viewing in the calendar. So for example, if I went to types here and I turned off attendance, that attendance record disappeared, so I'm not viewing attendance records anymore. The attendance record is still there, I'm just turned it off so that it wasn't visible for me. This can come in handy, especially if you have multiple students, for example, or once your agenda gets really packed, you can kind of filter what you're viewing to just kind of drill down into the thing that you're looking for. Below that is this export to PDF button. So if I click on that, it will actually generate a PDF file, which I can then print out or save or email or something like that. So it'll it'll generate a PDF of whatever it is that you're currently viewing in your agenda. You also have this today button, which takes you directly today, and then navigation buttons here to go forward or backward. Over here, you can view 1 day at a time. You can do 1 week at a time. You can do just the work week, Monday through Friday. You can view the whole month at a time. You can do this agenda view, which essentially puts it more in a list format. Then we also have a timeline view, which is a horizontal timeline, which is handy if you have multiple students and a lot of different events going on. And then lastly, at the bottom here, we have this show full day option. So if you do that, the day starts at midnight and goes all the way 24 hours. Or you can just show the school hours, which are set in your program options. In my case, my school hours are set from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. So you can set it up to view that way as well. Okay, so let's jump over to the list view and see what that looks like. I'm going to go to agenda list view here. And the agenda list view is the exact same information, the same data from the calendar view, but it's presented in a list format, which has its own benefits. So for example, I'm looking at this week right now. And real quick, just to kind of go over the list view, on the left-hand side here, these are your filters. So just like we had those filters on the calendar view, I have them in the list view here. So I can look at the date range, what students I'm looking at, the types, etc. The section in the middle here, this is the list itself and the data that we're looking at. And let me just clear these real quick. And what you have here is a list of all the items for that particular week. So for example, you can see here's the attendance record. Here's that first assignment, lesson 1, then lesson 2, 3, 4. So the nice thing about the list view is I can see a lot of data all at a glance, right? So I can see even that, you know, Campbell got a 90% on this assignment, and these assignments here haven't been marked complete yet. The other nice thing of being able to see a lot of data at once is it means I can edit more than one item at a time. So let's say I select these 3 assignments and I wanted to edit them. I could go to Action and then Multi-Edit. Let's go ahead and grade these. I'm going to say she got an 8 out of 10 on all of them, and I'm going to also mark them complete. Then I'll click Save. And so what you now see is it created attendance records for all 3 of those. It marked them complete, and she now has an 80% for all 3 of those assignments. So really quickly, in the list view, I'm able to modify or edit a number of items all at once. I can also sort by any one of these columns here. So for example, if I wanted to sort by description, I could certainly do that. You can sort by more than one column at a time if you like. That becomes more important as you have more items in your list. If you ever want to clear one of your sorts, just keep clicking on it until the arrow disappears here. You can also group by different items. So if I wanted to group by type, for example, I would just click and drag this column name here up to this section. And now I've grouped by item type. So I have all my assignments together. I have all my attendance records together. If I want to clear that, I can just hit an X there. And then finally, you can also search here. So if I wanted to search just for something specific, I could apply a search and it would just return those items. To clear that, you can click on the search here. So that's the agenda list view in a nutshell. And you can see that it's just another way to view and work with the same data, and it has its own benefits that the calendar view might not. Okay, so to recap, we created single and multiple assignments. We added grades to those, and we marked them complete. And we did that both from the calendar view as well as the list view. Okay, sorry, just drinking a little water there. Okay, so now we're going to dive into lesson plans. Now, lesson plans are a really popular feature, but I will stress that they are an optional feature. So you don't have to use lesson plans if you don't want to, but I think as we demonstrate, you'll see the benefits of potentially using a lesson plan, and it can certainly be something that would benefit you in your homeschool. One thing I will mention is we did do an extensive webinar just on lesson plans a few months ago. And so if you're really interested in diving deep in the lesson plans, I definitely recommend you check out the replay for that webinar. But let's first start out talking a little bit about what a lesson plan is. So a lesson plan is really a sequence of items that have not yet been scheduled as assignments. So if you think of an assignment is an item, and it has a date, it has a student, it has all of that data that we talked about. Now, a lesson plan item is very similar to an assignment, except it doesn't have a date and it doesn't have a student. So you can almost imagine or think of it as almost like a template for an assignment that just hasn't been used yet. I like to use this kind of picture of having a stack of lessons on my desk, and each one is a little bit different. And they're just in this very specific order on my desk. And when it's time for me to assign them to a student, I go ahead and I grab the next lesson from the top of that lesson plan and I give it to the student. And when I do that, that's me essentially scheduling that lesson plan item and creating it as an assignment for the student. Now, this is perfect if you want to plan everything out in detail all at once, or if you have a predefined curriculum. So if you're a planner and you know that you are going to have 180 days worth of biology, and you want on day 1 to do this, and on day 2 to do that, and on day 3 to do that, then it's perfect because you can go ahead and create all of the lesson plan items ahead of time, just basically essentially creating that stack of lessons on your desk. And then when you're ready to go ahead and use them in Homeschool Tracker, you start doling them out to your student and assigning them as they come due. This also works really well if you're using an off-the-shelf curriculum, because most likely if you bought curriculum from a publisher, it probably has a lesson plan as part of it. Now, the nice thing is that these lesson plans are not tied to a particular student, which means that they can be reused over and over again. So, for example, if you have a lesson plan for freshman biology, you can certainly use that for your older student. And then once your younger student takes that course, you can just reuse that same lesson plan. You don't have to recreate it all over again, which is great. The other nice thing is that lesson plans can be shared or imported using the shared lesson plan library. And there are literally nearly 1,000, I believe, lesson plans in the shared lesson plan library currently that other users like yourselves have uploaded and shared to the community at large, and the majority of those are based off of off-the-shelf curriculum. Okay, so we're going to do some demos on how to use lesson plans. So first off, we'll see an example lesson plan. Then we will create a simple lesson plan. We'll then import one from the shared library, and then we'll schedule a lesson plan, and we'll discuss using presets as well. Okay, so let's go jump back over here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the lesson plan screen here. And now, if it's your first time in here and you don't have any lesson plans currently, you're not going to see anything necessarily in here, but I have a couple lesson plans in here. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of search and see. Let's look at this Abeka arithmetic one, just as an example. And so first things first, you might notice that the lesson plan screen looks a lot like the agenda list view. You have all the filters over here on the left. You have all the data and the list here in the center. And these items, these lesson plan items, look an awful like assignments. So for example, if I open one of these up, you'll notice that it looks just like an assignment, except it's missing a student and it's missing a date. But it has a subject course, an activity, a resource, all of the things that you would expect from assignment. And again, the reason it doesn't have those things is because this is just the stack of lessons on your desk, right? It doesn't become an assignment until I take this lesson and hand it to a student, essentially, right? And assign it to them. So let's take a look at how this is structured. You'll notice that because there's no dates associated with it yet, we have what we call day numbers. So on day one of this lesson plan, this is what you're going to do. You're going to do lesson one of, this arithmetic one book. On day two, you're going to do lesson two. On day three, you'll do lesson three, etc. On day 12, you're going to have an oral test that's worth 100 points. And also on day 12, you're going to have a written test worth another 100 points. Now, if I keep scrolling down, you'll see that a pattern like this keeps going. And if I go all the way to the bottom, you'll notice that on day 171, I'm doing lesson 171. And in total, there are 202 items in this lesson plan. So it's really an entire year's worth of arithmetic, all kind of packed into this lesson plan. And I can go ahead and just start using this right away and start assigning these lesson plan items to my student so that it goes onto their agenda. So that's what a sample lesson plan might look like. Let's go ahead and create one so that you get an idea of how that works. So what I'll do is go click on Add, and I'll choose Add Multiple. And this looks a lot like the Add Multiple Assignments wizard. First off, for lesson plan, it wants me to add multiple items to the lesson plan that we were just looking at. But if I want to create a new lesson plan, I can just change this to a new name. So I'm going to call this sample plan. Excuse me. And then I'm going to pick a subject course. So I'll just choose Ancient History 1. And these will be lessons. And we'll pick a resource. And these will all be worth 10 points. Okay, so I'm going to then continue to day numbers. I'm going to start on day 1 and increment by 1. And then I'll go to PLC. And again, we'll just do a 1-part increment, and we'll do lesson 1, and then we'll end with lesson 10. Just to get an idea of how this works. And now we'll click on continue to preview. So here we go. I have 10 days. We're going from lesson 1 to lesson 10. So I'll go ahead and select all of these and then choose accept selected items. And now I'm back on the lesson plan screen, but I have to load up my sample plan. So I'm just going to click on this and go to sample. And there we have it. I have a sample lesson plan. It's 10 days, and we do 10 lessons. Now let's say I want to add a test to the end of this. I can just go click on add single. And I'll just fill this out really quickly here, and we'll call this a test. And we'll say that this is worth 100 points. And save that. Now I forgot to change the day number on it, so it went to the top here. But let's go ahead and edit that. We'll just put it on day 11 and choose save. So there we go. I have a very basic lesson plan, 10 days of lessons, and on the 11th day we do a test that's worth 100 points. Now I could continue this pattern and build out an entire year's worth of a curriculum if I like. And again, I would point to that lesson planning webinar because we actually cover a few tips and techniques on how to build that the most efficiently. But as you can see, it's relatively easy to quickly create a lesson plan for your particular curriculum or your course. Okay, so now let's go ahead and import a lesson plan from the shared library. So I'm going to go ahead and go over to the shared lesson plans here. And if I wanted to see a list of all the lesson plans in here, all I have to do is leave the search box blank and hit go. And I get a list of all of them. And so as you can see, there are literally hundreds of these. And they're all based off of, not all, but the majority of them are based off of off-the-shelf curriculum. This is really great too. If you're part of a group or a co-op of some kind, and you're all working on the same curriculum, you could have one member create the lesson plan and then share it on here, and everybody else could import it into their account. But I'm gonna go ahead and search for reading. And I'm gonna grab this Usborne First Reading Level 1 lesson plan. And here's a quick preview of it. You can see it's 15 days and it has all the resources and the PLC already filled out. So somebody took the time to create this and share it with the community. I'm going to go ahead and prepare it for import. Okay, so here are the items. I can choose which ones I want to import. I'm going to go ahead and select all of them. But before I go ahead and accept these, actually I need to give it a name first too. So I'm going to call it Reading 1. And before I go ahead and accept these, I want to change the subject course because, if one user creates it, it might not necessarily be the same subject course or the same settings you want when you bring it into your account. Now, obviously, you can change this after you bring it in, but I can change it right now too. So with all of these selected, I'm going to choose Action, Multi-Edit, and then I can change the subject course to Language Arts Reading 1 and click Save. And there we go. You might also notice that these resources have an asterisk and they say new. This is just showing us that these resources don't exist in our account currently. So when it brings these in, it's going to create those for us, which is nice. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure they're all selected, and then I will accept selected items. And there we go. So now I have the Usborne Reading 1 lesson plan right here in my account, and I can go ahead and schedule that and use it right away. So let's jump into that. Let's talk about scheduling. So let's say I wanted to schedule the first 5 days of this lesson plan. Now remember, kind of going back to that analogy, the lesson plan is that stack of lessons on my desk. So I have 15 lessons kind of stacked on my desk. And what I want to do is I want to basically say, okay, I want to take the first 5 of those, the first 5 days, and I want to assign them to my student, to Campbell, for the next 5 days in the week, so that she does one every 5 days. So that's basically what I'm doing. I'm selecting 5 of them, and then I'll choose Action, Scheduler, and I'll choose Campbell, and then I'll continue to day and date. And I will have it every day, have it go every day. And let's do these from 9 to 10. And let's have it start. I'm going to have it start on Monday, the 4th, just because I want it to fill up this week. And I can say continue until all selected items in the lesson plan are used. So I know that I selected 5 of them, so it should take up the whole week. I could also, if I had selected a whole bunch of them, I could just have it go until an end date if I wanted to. So I'm going to go ahead and continue to preview. And so now I can see that day 1 is going to go on July 4th, and then day 2 on July 5th, and so on. So I'll go ahead and select all of these and then choose Accept Selected Items. And there we go. So now I'm back in the lesson plan, and you'll notice that these are still here. These first 5 are still here, because the nice thing about it is even though I've assigned them to Campbell, the whole lesson plan is still here. It's totally intact because I could then assign it to another student whenever I wanted. And that's really the beauty of a lesson plan, is that this lesson plan, this kind of template, that it never changes unless I change it right here. But I can schedule these out or assign them to students all day long, and I can do that for this student and for that student, and that's really the power behind it. So if I go to the agenda now, you'll notice that Campbell now has 5 assignments Monday through Friday from that lesson plan that we assigned to her. And so if we open those up, you'll notice that now it has a student, it has a date, but all those other items in here from the lesson plan all came over into this assignment. And so that's really, when you start to think about workflow again, if you created lesson plans for all of your courses or for your different classes that you have, and then you just assign those lesson plans to your students, you really just do that work once of creating all that material once, and then when it comes time to assign it, you just kind of jump right in there. Okay, so now what I'd like to show you is how we can schedule a lesson plan using the more advanced scheduler. So let me jump over to the lesson plans and presets page here. Now, you can certainly do what we just did, where you load up the lesson plan, select the items, and then run the scheduler. But I want to show you this, I call it the advanced scheduler, but what it can do is it can basically schedule more than one lesson plan at a time. And if you use what we call presets, it can do it in a really cool way. So first off, now that I'm in the lesson plans and presets screen, I have Campbell selected. And these are the active lesson plans that I have for her right now. I can go ahead and click on edit and add or remove any lesson plans that I'm using for this advanced scheduler. This section takes a little bit longer to load just because it's loading in all of the lesson plans out there and all of her settings. But I'm going to go ahead and check the box for reading one so that it's kind of active for her. And then I'm going to jump over to preset. And now the preset screen, right off the bat, you can see it looks a lot like the calendar view, except there's no dates here. These are just Sunday, Monday, all the way through Saturday. And what these are preset times in the week when I want a specific subject or course to occur. And then once I set up those presets, if I want to utilize them, when I'm scheduling things, all I have to do is check the box for preset, and the scheduler will basically align the item to the matching subject or course in my presets here, and then it'll schedule it during that time block. So you can see, Monday through Friday from 9 to 10, we have Ancient History 1, then we have spelling, and then arithmetic or grammar, etc. So I'm going to go ahead and add a new preset, and I can choose the subject course. So it'll be for that new course, Reading 1, and we'll have it start at 3 p.m. and go to 4 p.m. And we'll do that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Cool, so now I have a new preset here from 3 to 4 p.m. Now, if I go to the scheduler, what I can do is I can select all of the lesson plans that I would like. So in this case, I'll select all of these. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'm going to select all 7 of these lesson plans, and then I'll continue to day and date. And now on day and date, I'm going to check this box here for preset. So I could check daily and then set times for things and that sort of thing, but I'm going to choose preset because I'm scheduling 7 lesson plans at once, and I want to make sure that they don't all get scheduled for the same time. So I'm going to choose preset, and with the scheduler, we'll match up those lesson plan items to my presets. So I'm going to choose the start date to be next Monday. I'm going to continue until next Friday. So I'm just going to schedule next week. And I'll go ahead and continue to preview. And here we go. So now I have this list of preview items. There's 49 items. So again, from 7 lesson plans across, 6 maybe different presets or 6 different courses. I'm scheduling 49 items all at once here. So I can see just a preview on Monday, July 11th, from 9 to 10, we've got Ancient History 1, then we've got spelling, then arithmetic, then physical science. And here at 3 to 4 is our Reading 1 assignment. And then we go into Tuesday. And again, on Tuesday from 3 to 4, here's Reading 1, and so on and so forth. So I'll go ahead and select all of these and then choose Accept. And so again, what it's doing, it's taking 7 different lesson plans, half a dozen different preset times throughout the week for one student, and it's scheduling 49 items for her all at once. Okay, so now let's go ahead and look at our agenda. And so this is this week, and let's move to next week. And there you go. So I have 49 different assignments all scheduled at the correct preset time from 7 different lesson plans, all for Campbell for next week. So again, when you think about workflow, If I were to create lesson plans for all of my different courses, and I were to create preset times for all the times that I wanted those courses to happen, I could literally come in here on a Sunday night or whenever I wanted to, and with a few clicks, schedule an entire week or 2 weeks at a time and be good to go for a while. And I would recommend, it's definitely tempting, I think, to schedule, for example, like your whole year all at once. But I would caution against that because it really limits your flexibility when it comes to rescheduling down the line. Really, the beauty of the lesson plan is that you always know where you are in the lesson plan. So there's really no benefit necessarily to like scheduling an entire lesson plan for the entire year all at once. I definitely recommend only scheduling 1 week or 2 weeks at a time. That way it's a lot more manageable, because you can imagine this is just 1 week's worth of assignments for Campbell, and there are 49 items. If I was scheduling the entire year, there would be thousands, if not tens of thousands of items, and those are all kind of out there in the agenda that I would have to keep track of, whereas now I only have 49 to deal with, and if I need to move things around or reschedule things, it's much more manageable. Okay, so that's the advanced scheduler and using presets to schedule your lesson plans. Okay, now let's jump into reports. Now, reports, as I mentioned, they're created as PDF files, and you can save, print, or send them. The daily task list is a great report to use on a day-to-day basis, and I'll show you that here in a second. And then transcripts and report cards can be generated as long as you have at least one completed and graded assignment in a course, because transcripts and report cards are all really, in Homeschool Tracker at least, based off of grades. And so you have to have at least one graded and completed assignment in a course for it to show up on a transcript or a report card. So let's jump in here and let's look at the daily task list. So the daily task list is just that. It's a list of all of the different tasks that you or your student need to complete on a given day. So I'm going to go ahead and generate one for next week. So I'll choose July 11th through July 15th. And then I have a number of different options here that I can choose. I can show just incomplete assignments, complete assignments, etc. So I'm just going to choose some of these basic options here, and then I'll choose Generate Report. And then once it's ready, I can go ahead and pick up the report. And it's created as a PDF file that I can then open up here. And so here it is. It's a PDF file that I could print out or email or do whatever I like with. And it just shows you literally a daily list of the tasks that Campbell needs to complete. And it goes through the entire week here. And so it's 4 pages for the entire week. I could print this out. I could put it on a bulletin board or a clipboard, whatever I'd like. And it's ready to go. So that's the daily task list. We won't cover report cards or transcripts tonight necessarily, just because I don't have a lot of graded assignments necessarily, but you will find, and I would recommend at the end of every semester, every quarter, or however long you typically go, to go ahead and generate one. Whether or not you need it for authorities or whatnot, I always like to just generate one at the end of a milestone to make sure that everything's showing up the way that I like, and it's an easy way to kind of find if you forgot to grade something, or if perhaps you structured your subjects and courses in a way that doesn't reflect well on your report card or transcript. That's always a good time to kind of check in and make sure you can edit those. Okay, so just to recap a little bit on the workflows, I know we talked about a number of them as we went, but you could certainly create single assignments on a daily basis, and we have a number of users that do just that. And especially, I think, for new users, I think it's a great way to go. It's also great for unschoolers that might want to essentially track or log all the work that they did after the fact. At the end of the night, you could go in there and log all of the work that you or your student did and still have all the benefits of all the tracking and record keeping that Homeschool Tracker provides. You could also do that by creating multiple assignments at a time. So you could go in on a Sunday night, create a number of assignments for the week, and be good to go. And then we get into the more advanced workflows using lesson plans. So you could use a combination of creating single and multiple assignments plus having a few lesson plans that you schedule. Or you could go full-blown like I showed you, where you have a lesson plan for every course and even presets for every course. And you could essentially go in and with a few clicks of the mouse, generate all the assignments you might need for a week or two at a time. So as you can see, there are a number of different workflows, and these are just a few of them, really. There's so many different workflows that folks are using out there that we don't even necessarily know about, because that's the beauty of Homeschool Tracker. It's really this open platform that you can use however works best for you. Okay, so that's it for kind of the program portion. We will certainly open up to Q&A now, so if you have any questions at all, feel free to submit those, and I'd be happy to answer all that I can. So Tina had asked, let's see, how do I reuse a lesson plan from last year to this year? I'll show you how to do that here. Let's just jump over here. So lesson plans can always be reused at any time, really. So if you're in Homeschool Tracker and you have a lesson plan, you know, this is the one that we used earlier. So if I had already scheduled those 5 assignments for Campbell, and I wanted to schedule these next 5 or these assignments for Manning now, I could just select those 5 and then choose Action Scheduler. And instead of choosing Campbell, I could choose Manning and then schedule them for him. So the lesson plan doesn't really know what year it is, right? The lesson plan doesn't have any kind of time associated with it. So just because you created it last year and perhaps even used it last year, doesn't mean you couldn't use it this year or even next week or the week after that. So it really is independent of the time that you created it. Now, the one thing I will mention is the way that lesson plans know where you are in the lesson plan is the used status. So let me show you real quick here where it says displaying and it says all items. I can then change this to show used by student. So I'm going to show you Campbell, and I'm going to show you both the used and the not used status. This will make sense in a second here. So I'm showing Campbell's status right now. So for these 15 items, you'll see that these first 10 items of the 15 have all been used, and it even shows you the date that they were used or the date that they were scheduled for. So this is how the scheduler knows where you left off for that particular student. So the next time I run the scheduler for Campbell, it's going to pick up on day 11, because if I just ran it and I didn't know where she left off, I don't want to reassign the same lesson that she'd already done. It's going to pick up with day 11, and then we'll be done by day 15. Now, if I needed to reset that use status for any reason, let's say I scheduled these first 10 days for Campbell and then I deleted them from the agenda, or you know, for whatever reason I just want to reschedule the same item again, I can always reset this use status. So I can select all these items here, and I could choose Action and then Set Used Status, and I could say that I want Campbell's status to be not used, and that would change all these back to not used, which means they are essentially kind of fresh again for Campbell, and they could be reassigned to her again in the future. So hopefully that answers your question, Tina. Okay, Diane asks, how do we back up now that you are on the cloud? So the cool thing about being in the cloud is that it's always backed up. So just like, you know, if you use an email provider like Gmail or Hotmail or Yahoo Mail or something, that's all in the cloud too, right? And so you can log into it from any computer or any device you might have anywhere in the world. Same thing goes for Homeschool Tracker. And in terms of backup, backups are happening every 15 minutes with Homeschool Tracker Online. And then those backups then get geo-replicated across multiple data centers around the world. So even if, for example, if you know, the big data center in one location had an issue, we would have a backup from at least 15 minutes ago at another data center that we could always restore to. So much like, you know, if you've used Homeschool Tracker Plus in the past, where you had to worry about your backups locally on your computer and you saved them on a flash drive or this or that, you don't necessarily have to worry about that with Homeschool Tracker Online, because it's being saved all the time for you. Okay, so Jennifer then asks, is there a way to include a website link in a lesson plan or assignment so that it is clickable? Yes, that's a great question, Jennifer. Let me show you real quick here. What I'll do to show you that is I will just open one of these lesson plan items. So there's a couple different places you could do it. So the first I'll show you is right in the directions field. So in the directions, this is what you might call like a rich text editor. So if I wanted to put a website link right here in the directions, for example, I could just put that in there and I could create this as a link. So if I select it and then choose this insert hyperlink button right here, it'll ask me what the text should be and what the URL should be. And then if I wanted to open this in a new window or not, I can certainly do that. So that's how you would create a link right in the directions field, right? So then now if I click on this link, it should open up Google for me. So that's one place. The other place is we actually have a website link field within assignments that you can enable. So if I go to my program options and then go to the optional fields over here, there is a optional field called links that you can turn on or off right there. So I'll turn that on. And now if I go back to one of these lesson plans, you'll see I have a links option here. And I can add a new link. I'll go ahead and put Google in here also. And a caption, Google. And then click save. And so now there can be a link associated with this lesson plan item or assignment. And again, save that. And if you click on it, it'll open it right up for you. So that's a couple different ways of how you can add links to a lesson plan item or an assignment. Okay, hopefully that answers your question, Jennifer. Tina says, perfect, thank you, great. Let's see, Diane is asking, can we tailor our program to include school logo? No, you can't right now, but that's a great idea. I'd love to be able to add that in the future, especially like for reports and things like that. If you had that, I think that could be a cool feature. Right now, the only kind of customization for your school, if you go to your school profile right here, is you can have a name, obviously, your address, phone. You can have a motto, like a slogan, or if you have a favorite verse that you want to include there, and that will show up on your reports. But right now, we don't have a way to include an image or a logo, but certainly something that we could add to the list of future enhancements. Okay, so Jennifer's asking, for multiple children, can the assignments be shown in a particular color for each child? Yes, they can. That's a great question, Jennifer. I'll show you where you can do that. So if we go over to our student list, right here in the menu, student list, and as you're creating students, so if you haven't done this yet, I'll just show you real quickly how to create a student. If you go to Action, Add, I'll create a student for myself. I'll call it Dave. And the student can have an address. They can have a different parent or guardian, or it could be you, obviously. The student can have an email address, entrance date, graduation date, and then it can have a color, background color. So I'm going to go ahead and choose, this bright red, and then you can choose the text color, either black or white, whatever is easier for you to read. And then you can click Save. So Campbell already is set up with this purple, Manning has this blue, and then I just created one for myself that's red. And now to enable those colors on the agenda, I want to go to my program options and the agenda tab in your program options. And right here under calendar colors, it says color items using system colors by item type. So we have predetermined colors for different types of items. So like assignments are like this yellow color, attendance is that purplish color. And so if you choose that, then those are the colors that it'll use. But if you want to use the student colors, then just choose this option and then click Save. And now if I go to the agenda, you'll see that Campbell is all in that blue. And if I were to create a new assignment for myself, just do that real quick here. You'll see, should see. Oh, I did it for you last week. Here we go. You'll see that the Dave assignment is red. So that's how you would have multiple colors for each student. Hopefully that answers your question, Jennifer. Okay, so any other questions? Feel free to ask away. I'm happy to stay on as long as we need to make sure we get all your questions answered. I can also look to see if any questions have come in ahead of time. I know a lot of folks send in questions ahead of time as well. Let me just pull those up here. Let's see, Kathy had asked if there are any keyboard or mouse shortcuts. We don't have any shortcuts built in the program currently. There's a couple of reasons. Well, there's really one primary reason for that. It's just since it's a web-based program, meaning it exists inside your browser, doing shortcuts is a little trickier than, say, doing it like on a desktop program like Homeschool Tracker Plus, or let's say you're using Microsoft Word or something, right? It's easier to have shortcuts there. But it's definitely something that we want to add, especially for kind of navigation, moving from item to item. It's on our list to certainly investigate. Let's see, Tina's asking a question. Difference between block and time scheduling. Currently I use block, but I'm switching to time specific. So as you probably noticed, Tina, in the program options, you can choose from agenda, you can choose to have things organized by start and end times or by blocks. So as you've noticed, like what we've been doing tonight, everything has been kind of in the start and end times, where you have, well, a calendar with start and end times. Or you can organize things by blocks. And for those of you that don't know what the blocks look like, I'll just switch to block mode. And what that does is on your agenda here, instead of having 9 a.m., 10 a.m., you have blocks 1 through 20. And those blocks can be used just really however you want. If you decide that you want to have all of your language arts assignments in block 1, and then all of your math in block 2, it really just depends on how you want to do it. This works well, obviously, if you don't necessarily want things to be tied to a specific time, that every day at 10 a.m. something has to happen. You could just say the second thing that you do every day should be language arts, in which case the block mode might work well for you. So the difference between them is really just that way of organizing it. There's not really kind of another kind of intrinsic difference or difference in the way that things are tracked necessarily. So if you have another specific question, Tina, on the difference, I'm happy to answer. But really the core of it is just a method of organizing how things are displayed. One thing is like the time spent is still available here in block mode. So obviously you can't calculate the time spent automatically by a start and end time, but you can still manually enter the time spent by entering 1 hour, 2 hours, or whatever you need to, if tracking time spent is crucial for you. Okay, so hopefully that is helpful. Let's see, Diane is asking, what is your preferred method of us asking future questions? I'm assuming you're meeting after the webinar, in which case, definitely email. Email is certainly the best. Email us anytime at support@homeschooltracker.com. A lot of times folks might send us a Facebook message or like a tweet or something like that, and certainly we love to respond to those, but it's a little harder for us to manage if things are coming at us from different places. Email is certainly the best because it's one inbox, one address, support@homeschooltracker.com, and everybody on our team is looking at it all the time. And it allows us to triage those messages and assign them to the appropriate person and make sure things are getting followed up on and that sort of thing. So definitely I would recommend email as the primary method of contacting us in the future. Okay, so let's see. Christy's asking, when students check off their daily assignments in their personal account, it turns a different color. Can it do that on my account as well so I can tell by color what they've completed? Christy, that's a great question. So currently, it does not do that if you are viewing items by student color. So let me just see here. I'm going to switch back to the time mode real quick. And I'm also going to switch to system colors. So as you may remember, when we marked these assignments complete, they went a little darker. And that only currently happens when you're using the system colors. If you're using the student colors, they don't change color. And it's actually on our list of things that we want to address. We just haven't gotten to it yet. What I would recommend if you are using student colors, I'll just show you that. and you wanted to view just items that have been marked complete, then I would recommend using the filters up here. So you can always just filter for items that have only been marked complete, either by just a student or by a teacher or whatever. So in this case, I'm only showing completed items, and that's probably the best workaround that I would have for you at this point. Okay. Let's see. Tina's asking, is there a way to get what shows in all day to be included in the daily task list report when checked as completed? I haven't been able to get it to print when I print the completed tasks at the end of the week. It should. So that's strange if it doesn't. Let's just give it a shot here. Let's see. So you're saying that if it's marked completed and it's an all-day assignment, so I'm going to make this all day. So this is a lesson that's all day, it's marked completed. And if I try to generate a daily task list, it won't show up. So let's go ahead and try this. We'll do a daily task list for Tuesday today. And now you're saying that if it's marked completed, so you have to make sure that you're checking the box for complete assignments. Perhaps that's not being checked. So I'm going to choose incomplete and complete assignments. And then let's go ahead and generate that. Pick it up. Yep. So here it goes. So this first one here, I don't know if you can see that. This first one here is that all-day assignment because there's no time, and it actually has a checkbox here, or check in the box, which shows that it's been marked complete. So it seems to be working for me. Perhaps, Tina, you don't have that completed assignments box checked here when you're generating your daily task list. I would definitely check that to make sure. Okay, let's see. Diane is asking, thank you for creating and teaching the software as my kids get into high school. The software is critical for college transcripts. That's awesome. I agree, Diane, and thank you so much for your time tonight and for joining us. Like I mentioned before, it's not just enough for us to create the software, but we want you to be successful in using it. We know that it is a deep program and it has a learning curve. Like we're very aware of this, and so this is why we want to spend 2 hours with you or whatever on a Tuesday night to make sure that you guys are up to speed on it, because it really can be a game changer once you get the hang of it and once you kind of get your workflow established. Because just like Diane's saying, especially when you're in high school and you're getting ready for college, the ability to just kind of click that transcript button and generate that and send it off is so powerful. And if you don't have that, there's a lot of stress or anxiety that can certainly build as your student gets ready to apply for college. All right, let's see. Angela is asking, where would you recommend a newbie start, i.e. listing students, lesson planning, assignments? So I would recommend, Angela, starting by creating your students. So if you're literally brand new, totally brand new account, first thing you want to do is probably go ahead and create students. You would do that in the student list. You can go ahead and create them here. I just created myself a few minutes ago. So you want to do that for your students. I would also create a school year. So over here in the manage list, you want to create a school year. I don't even have one created right now, but let's just do that really quick. I'll go ahead and add. We'll call this 2016 to 2017. I can't believe it's 2016 and I can't believe I'm typing 2017 already. Isn't that crazy? Okay, so I'm going to say that my school year starts, we'll say we started July 4th, 2016, and it's going to go to 2017. And I'm going to just do 2 terms. So actually, I'll do 4 terms. You know what? That's too much. Let's just do 2. And I don't know why that's not showing up. There we go. And then I'll click save. And so now I have my school year created, 2016 through 2017. And then what I would do is I would literally do that first workflow that we talked about, right? Where we just create a single assignment at a time. either beforehand or after the fact. So it's likely that you have already been homeschooling for a while, right? That you already probably have a method of doing things. Maybe it's a binder, maybe it's a planner of some kind. I wouldn't just like quit cold turkey on that necessarily, because just emotionally, I know that that can be a lot to kind of handle, to go from one system to a new system like completely. What I would do is almost kind of overlap what you've been doing previously and start adding in Homeschool Tracker to that. So perhaps if you're using a binder, using a planner of some kind, keep going with that from a planning perspective, and then just start using Homeschool Tracker as the logging tool that we talked about. So like if you just go in every night at the end of the day and create the assignments of the things that you did that day, and log those and grade them if you want to, and that sort of thing. Just do that for a few weeks as you get a hang for how, as you get a hang of, and I can't speak, it's like 9:30 now. As you start to get comfortable with how Homeschool Tracker works, you can create those assignments and track and log all that work as you go. Then slowly, I would start to kind of transition and start doing my planning and homeschool tracking and so on and so forth. So I think you can absolutely kind of ease into it is what I'm trying to say. And if you try to go full bore, like straight out of the gate, it might be overwhelming and it might be stressful and that sort of thing. And certainly we're here to help you through that. But I think it could be, you'd be more successful just kind of starting off slow and then slowly adding more and more features into it as you go. So hopefully that's helpful, Angela. Let's see. Tina's saying, it hasn't worked for me. I'll try again. All of the other completed assignments print, but not the all day. That's definitely interesting. Tina, if you send us an email, and we can follow up with you. If you send us an email, we can take a look at your account specifically and kind of troubleshoot that and see what the issue might be. All right, so Chrissy's asking, how do you set up and manage skills progress? So I'll show you that real quick here. So first off, you have to enable skills progress in your program options. So you go to program options and then choose optional fields. And then you want to make sure that the skills box is checked here. You'll notice too that as you start turning these things on or off, your menu options will change accordingly. So already now in my reports, I have something called skills progress. Didn't have that before. And I have skills progress over here in students, which we didn't have before. I also have a list called skills. So those optional fields here in the program options, turning those on or off will start to customize your menu. So your menu might look slightly different than mine based off of what you have enabled or disabled. So to track skills progress, first thing you would want to start on the skills list here. And one thing I will mention, every time you go to a page for the first time, it will give you like a quick about that page. It's really easy just to close that and not read it, but definitely take a quick look at it because it can certainly be helpful. And so once you're in the skills, you can create a new skill. And I won't get too in depth here because this is where it starts to get very specific, right, to what you're doing and how. So I personally am not using the skills portion in our homeschool. But I know a lot of folks do, and it might actually be part of your lesson plan. If it is, you can enter all that information here, but you can essentially group the skills and have an area or discipline for the skill. And then in the skills progress itself, as you start adding those skills to assignments, you'll start to see the progress here. So I guess we could do it really quickly here. Let's just create a sample just so you get an idea. I'll just call the grouping math, and this can be addition. And then in the objective, this is where you would put something more descriptive, like learn how to add, single digits and double digit numbers, whatever the objective of the skill might be. Oh, it is required, so learn addition. Okay, so now I have a new skill, right? So now if I go to my agenda, and let's just use my student as an example here. Now I can basically attach this skill to a given assignment. So basically, anytime I was doing a math assignment that was related to addition, for example, I would probably want to attach that skill to it. So let's just assume that this is Ancient History 1, but let's just say that it's a math assignment. I'll go ahead and save that. Let me just make sure it's still there. Yeah. Add selected skills. There we go. Save it. And then I'm going to mark this complete. So now if I go to the skills progress for me, you'll see that Dave, for this school year, has one count, essentially. I've done one assignment that had addition as the area or discipline. And so obviously, you know, as you go throughout your year, this number of 1 will increment. So if I did 100 math assignments or 100 homework assignments for math or something, that 50 of them had addition in them, you know, this would say 50. And then based off of, you know, me as the teacher or the parent, I could then say, oh, he did 50 assignments worth of math. I'll go ahead and mark this completed, meaning the skill has been completed. He's learned how to add, and I can, you know, put in a date for that, add any specific notes, that sort of thing. And let's say it's been completed. And so now it's no longer in progress. It's been completed. Okay, so that's kind of all the steps necessary to start tracking skills. The reason there are so many steps is because, you know, essentially you've got the skill itself, you have the assignment, which needs to reference the skill, and then you need a way to track the skill's progress that's outside of the assignment necessarily, because you could attach the skill of addition to, you know, in this case, actually an ancient history lesson if you wanted. It wouldn't necessarily need to be a math subject or course. It could be something else, and maybe you were teaching addition in the context of ancient history. I don't know. It's entirely possible, right? Because of that, the way to track the skills progress needs to be kind of separate from the assignments themselves, and that's what this screen is for. Now, what you can then do with all of this data, because you've been adding and using this data over the course of your school year, is you can then generate a skills progress report, right? And that's really what that's why this is so powerful, right? Because all of the data, all this work that you put into this is really is there so that you can generate these reports, you know, for yourself or for colleges or for authorities or whatever. And you could generate a report to show what's in progress, what's completed. You can show the notes, the assignment details, all these different things, so that you can then see, you know, what your student has done with regards to those specific skills. So here is a skills progress report for Dave. It was grouped by math, and then the objective was to learn addition, and it was completed on 7/5/2016. So obviously this is just one skill, but over the course of your high school career, for example, you would have hundreds of these potentially, if this was important to you. And again, there are so many different features within Homeschool Tracker that not everybody uses. So not, like I said, I'm not using this yet with my students, but I know many users are. But it's there and it's available to you if it's something that's important to you. Okay, so that was a long answer, I know. Hopefully that's helpful, Christy. Carla's saying, thanks so much for all you provide. Thank you so much, Carla. I really appreciate you joining us tonight. All right, so it says Diane is asking, how far back can courses and assignments be added? In those cases, we forgot about something we want to track. You can go as far back as you want, Diane. And in fact, we get this question a lot because folks that are maybe moving over to Homeschool Tracker that were using something different or nothing at all, they want to essentially add in all of the previous work that their student had done because you want one completed transcript, you know, for example. We have a guide in our help site here on creating a transcript for prior years or creating a report card for prior years. These are basically, it's very similar, but this is a step-by-step process of doing that. And the reason I point to this is because, like I mentioned before about creating a transcript or report card, you only need one completed and graded assignment in a given course for that course to show up on a transcript or report card. So for example, let's say we're moving into our 2016-2017 school year. Let's say I just started using Homeschool Tracker, but my student's a sophomore, and I didn't use anything last year when he was a freshman, and I want to make sure that I have all of his grades in there in Homeschool Tracker for his freshman year. Now, you might think that you would have to go through all your records and input every single assignment, every single task, all of these different things for all of last year. You certainly could, but you don't have to. If you know what that student's final grade was for a particular course, whether it be for the first semester or the second semester or however you organized it, all you have to do is create one single assignment for that course and just give it that final grade. Because at the end of the day, if you're just generating a transcript doesn't show you each and every single assignment. It shows you the final grade, right? So all you would need to do is create that one assignment for that entire course, and it could just be at any time period within that school year that you're looking for, and it'll show up on the transcript with that grade being the final grade. So this guide here walks through that process. It looks really wordy because it's kind of verbose, but essentially the main gist of it is that all you need to do is create that one assignment for the course for one semester or the second semester, and then that course will show up with the final grade in the transcript or report card. But to answer your very specific question, you can go back as far as you want and add as much information as you want as well. Definitely possible to do that. Angela says, thank you so much, Angela. Tina says, wow, thank you. I started MT and was wondering how to include what we were doing without adding a new course for each thing. I'm not sure what MT is. Started MT. I don't know what MT is, Tina, but hey, I'm glad that, MT is morning time. I got you. MT is morning time, which will include things like memory, word poetry, etc. Okay, cool. So that's awesome. I'm glad it's working out for you. And again, for everybody out there, feel free to continue to ask questions. You can email us, support@homeschooltracker.com. This is really the level of support that we're hoping to offer. We want to answer each and every one of your questions. As I mentioned, we have several thousand users, and you're all fantastic. And we love our users, and we love what you're doing with your children. We love what you're doing with your homeschool, and we support your cause. We support your mission. And so that's why, we're happy to answer all your questions. And we hope that Homeschool Tracker can be successful, can help you be more successful in your homeschool. Christy's asking, would love to see a webinar on creating transcripts and grading in high school. Awesome. That's great. We will, I think we'll schedule one of those for the next couple weeks here. Keep an eye out for the website. Let me just show you again. If you go to support and then the training center, this is where you'll see the upcoming webinars. Definitely check that out, and we'll try to add one in there specifically on grading and transcripts for high school. So I think that would be helpful to everybody. Kim says, thank you so much. As a first-time user, this was very beneficial. I'm so glad, Kim. It really means a lot to me to hear you say that, because as you being a new user, and it sounds like the majority of you are, it's really our goal to make sure that you guys are successful with Homeschool Tracker. And one thing I didn't mention, now that we've been going for an hour and a half, the folks that are still on, you guys are awesome. You're the all-stars of the evening. I'm going to pull the report of everybody that attended tonight, and I'm going to go into your accounts and give you a free month of Homeschool Tracker, because the fact that you have been on here all night long learning and asking questions and been supportive of our program and our business means so much to us that we're more than happy to give that back to you. So we will pull a report here of everybody that attended. I believe we have all your names and email addresses when you registered, and I'll go ahead and extend your subscription an extra month free of charge. And I hope that that's helpful, especially in the summer, because we want you to be successful, and we want to make sure that you're comfortable using Homeschool Tracker, so that when the school year rolls around, if you haven't started already, you're ready to go and you're not worried about paying an extra month or whatever to make sure that you're learning the program and that sort of thing. So awesome. So yeah, Christy, thank you so much. No, thank you guys. We're so appreciative of you. So I think we'll go ahead and wrap things up. Again, thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. We're so appreciative of you as customers and of users and just of your mission as homeschoolers. So again, don't hesitate to reach out to us, email us at support@homeschooltracker.com. We would love to answer all of your questions. And again, like I mentioned before, we are recording this, and so I will send out an email to each and every one of you with a link to the recording if you want to reference this at any time. So again, thanks so much for joining us, and I hope you guys have a great night and hope to see you again soon. Take care. Bye now.